Hello, Del Mar students and staff. It's me, Mrs. B, in the Wellness Center here again. For the month of February, I wanted to bring in a really important mental health topic, and that's coping with grief. There is no right or wrong way to grieve the loss of a loved one, and we have all been touched by losing someone we love and care about. So this month we'll look at coping with grief, and I'd like to spend some time sharing with you some strategies on how to support a friend who might be grieving. And just a gentle reminder that if you or someone you know and care about is grieving, how they can get support. So again, you can always go to the Student Services Center, which is in the office, and ask to see someone who's available. And you can always come knock on my door, room 83 in the Wellness Center. You can make your own appointment. And of course, if anything's urgent, you can let that be known. And we're here to help you. So without further ado, here's some really great, helpful resources on how to cope with grief and how to support friends who are grieving.
At some point in our lives, we will be faced with the realization of our own mortality. As hair begins to gray and our bones turn frail, we begin to understand that life, as precious as it is, must inevitably come to an end. We all go through the grieving process in our own ways. There is no universal method for healing. If you've dealt with this kind of loss, you know that the healing process sometimes feels impossible. You might feel like this lingering feeling will remain with you forever. You may hear the familiar bells of their favorite song or catch a faint scent that reminds you of their cooking. We hope that these few techniques can relieve that pain and help you move forward while honoring their lives. There's no quick fix. Dealing with grief isn't some scientific problem that we solve. Grief is an incredibly complex emotional journey, and it isn't a process that we should rush. We're not suggesting that grief is something you can fix by watching a quick YouTube video. It's definitely not that simple. So as you watch this video of techniques to relieve your pain, understand that it's never as simple as a step-by-step guide. If you feel overwhelmed, there are professionals, family, and friends that you can reach out to. You are not alone. Acceptance. Okay, so this is obviously much easier said than done. Accepting our grief sometimes feels like a battle in our minds. Part of us just wants to reject that reality of what has happened. And sometimes we reject our deepest emotions, which burn and twist deep inside of us. But it's important not to let yourself become numb. Own those feelings and understand why you're feeling them. Let them flow through every fiber of your body. Remember, there are no right or wrong feelings. It's okay to feel everything that you're feeling, even if it's confusing or disturbing. Companionship is key. The people around us make a huge difference when we're dealing with grief, but as many experts have noted, they can either help or hinder our healing process. There are those who try to fix our grief, encouraging us to get over it. This obviously isn't very helpful. The best companions during these dark times know how to listen. Sometimes there are no words to express how we're feeling, and no words to reassure us. And those people understand this. These people are just there for us, whether it means providing a distraction or lending a shoulder to cry on. Use art as an outlet. Those deep, heavy feelings of grief aren't just going to disappear, but you can channel those feelings into something creative. And art is one of the most helpful healing methods. In her book, It's Okay That You're Not Okay, psychotherapist Megan Devine recommends taking those emotions and pouring them into a painting, a graphic novel, or any other art form that gives you an outlet. Artistic expression lets you get grief off your chest, as it's a form of emotional release. Write a journal. Sometimes it's easier to keep silent rather than express our emotions. However, most psychologists agree that it's not a good idea to bottle everything inside. If art isn't your thing, keeping a journal is a great way to understand our emotions, including his grief. When writing our emotions, we confront, dissect, and ultimately come to terms with them. Based on the research on journaling in the psychological community, we understand its benefits, especially if you write over the course of multiple days. You don't have to share your journal with everyone, and that gives you total freedom to truly express yourself. Create your own rituals to honor those who have passed. We don't mean shamanistic rituals that involve intermediaries or ancient traditions. These rituals can be anything you want them to be. Dr. Kim Bateman, a clinical psychologist, encourages us to think about what made our loved ones happy when creating our own rituals. Maybe your loved one really enjoyed a specific type of tea. Your ritual could be something really simple, such as pouring your loved one a cup of tea and thinking of a memory of them while their cup sits and steams. It doesn't matter what you believe in. This is just a way for you to honor their memory, plain and simple. Don't trust in the 5 stages of grief. Most of us are familiar with the so-called 5 stages of grief. This was introduced to us by psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross way back in 1969. And while it's definitely an interesting model, the entire concept is now a little outdated. Most modern psychologists agree that grief is not a linear process, and it can't be summed up as a simple equation or formula. Grief is experienced differently by everyone. Focus on how you are healing presently without anticipating what the next stage of this process may be. If you found this video helpful at all, please let us know in the comments. As we stated earlier, we're not trying to simplify grief, and we don't claim to have all the answers. That being said, feel free to share your own experiences with grief and how you heal from these experiences. You may help somebody else going through something. Thank you, and we appreciate you all, as always.
All right, so let's just take a moment and review and recap how to cope with grief. So remembering that there's no right or wrong way to grief, that we all grieve differently, acknowledging the loss, looking to your support systems and your support people and companionship, using art as an outlet, so getting creative, writing in a journal, creating your own ritual or a family ritual or a ritual among those of you who share that loss to honor the person who has passed. Reminding yourself and others that it's okay to not feel okay and that you can expect to have a roller coaster of emotions, and knowing when to ask for help or when to ask for help on behalf of someone else. So we're going to take a minute and look at how to support somebody who is grieving with this next video.
So what do we do about all the pain we see in the world? All the pain we feel in our own lives? And why does it seem like our best efforts to help somebody feel better always backfire? I've been studying intense grief and loss, baby death, violent crimes, accidents, suicides, and natural disasters. And I've learned something really interesting. Cheering people up, telling them to be strong and persevere, helping them move on, it doesn't actually work. It's kind of a puzzle. It seems counterintuitive, but the way to help someone feel better is to let them be in pain. This is true for those giant losses and the ordinary everyday ones. Educator Parker Palmer writes, "The human soul doesn't want to be advised or fixed or saved. It simply wants to be witnessed exactly as it is." He's talking about acknowledgement here. Acknowledgement is this really amazing multi-tool. It makes things better even when they can't be made right. For example, somebody's struggling. Their baby died, or there's been a bad accident, or their mom got sick, and they're just sad. It's way more helpful to join them in their pain than it is to cheer them up. But here's what we tend to do instead. You have 2 other children, you need to find joy in them. Or, you know what you need? You just need to go out dancing and shake it off. Or, I felt really sad once. Did you try acupuncture? We're not really sure what to do with someone's pain, so we do what we've been taught. We look on the bright side. We try to make people feel better. We give them advice. It's not like this is nefarious. I mean, we try to cheer people up because we think that's our job. We're not supposed to let people stay sad. The problem is, you can't heal somebody's pain by trying to take it away from them. Now, acknowledgement does something different. When a giant hole opens up in someone's life, it's actually much more supportive to acknowledge that hole and let pain exist. It's actually a radical act to let things hurt. It goes against what we've been taught. In order to really support you, I have to acknowledge that things really are as bad as they feel to you. If I try to cheer you up, you end up defending yourself and your feelings. If I give you advice, you feel misunderstood instead of supported. And I don't get what I want either because I wanted you to feel better. It's pretty rare that you could actually talk somebody out of their pain. Rarely does the admonishment to look on the bright side actually heal things for someone. It just makes them stop telling you about their pain. It's so tempting to try to make things better. When somebody shares something painful, it's much more helpful to say, "I'm sorry that's happening. Do you want to tell me about it?" To be able to say, "This hurts," without being talked out of it, that's what helps. Being heard helps. It seems too simple to be of use, but acknowledgement can be the best medicine we have. It makes things better, even when they can't be made right.
So let's just take a look at a few more resources that you can visit if you would like more support or information on this topic, on how to cope with grief and how to help others who are grieving. And please remember that you can reach out and ask for help, or you can ask for help for someone else, from anyone, any safe adult at the school. And information shared here is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. Thank you. Thank you, Del Mar students, and I'll see you next month.